welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty central to DeFi, decentralized finance that is. We're going to try and break down a really big piece of infrastructure, Curve finance.
Yeah, Curve. It's definitely fundamental if you're talking efficient stablecoin trading. That's where it happens. The sources you sent over, they're dense, very technical.
Right.
So the plan today is really just to cut through all that complexity and pull out the practical stuff you actually need to know about why Curve is, well, so important.
Exactly. And we'll follow a pretty simple path. What problem does it solve? What's the basic idea? How does it actually, work? What's in it for you? And crucially, what are the risks involved?
Sounds like a good plan. Let's dive in. Where should we start? The problem.
Yeah, let's start with the problem. So you have stable coins, right? Things like USDC, DAI. They're supposed to be worth $1. Why was just swapping between them such a headache on the early decentralized exchanges, the DEX?
It really boils down to the math they used. These older DEXs, like Uniswap v2, for example, often use this formula X times Y equals K, constant product market maker.
Okay.
And that formula, it's actually really clever for assets where the prices, fluctuate independently. Think Bitcoin for Ether, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
But the moment you try using it for two things that should be worth the same, like $1 coin for another dollar coin, the math itself kind of forces the price away from that one-to-one peg, especially if you're trading large amounts.
So it creates artificial price movement.
Exactly. It causes slippage, big slippage sometimes. So if you wanted to swap, say, 10 million USDC for DAI, you wouldn't get 10 million DAI back. You'd lose a chunk just because of how the formula worked.
Yeah.
It made large stablecoin swaps really expensive, inefficient.
Got it. So it kind of defeated the point of them being stable and easy to move around in bulk.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's the problem. Now, the simple idea, this is where the founder, Mikhail Igorov, comes in with his stable swap algorithm, right? He was a physicist.
That's right, a Russian physicist. And the core idea, his innovation, was to build something specifically for this stablecoin problem.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Maybe an analogy helps. If the regular exchanges, the risque ones, are like, I don't know, bumpy country roads trying to handle all kinds of traffic.
Cars, trucks, everything.
Yeah. Curve is like a purpose-built, super smooth, multi-lane highway designed only for semi-trucks, big, heavy loads, in this case, large stablecoin trades.
I like that. A specialized highway for stablecoins.
Mm-hmm.
So why is this highway so smooth? What's different about the algorithm?
Well, the stable swap curve, mathematically, it's designed to be extremely flat right around that target $1 price.
Really?
Because it knows these assets are meant to be pegged together.
Right.
It doesn't force the price away nearly as much as the old formula, so you can push huge volumes through, millions of dollars, with very, very little price movement, very little slippage.
So much cheaper trades for users.
Much cheaper trades, much lower fees potentially for liquidity providers too, because the risk is lower. It just makes the whole process incredibly efficient for its specific niche.
All right, that makes sense. That's the core tech. Now, how does it actually function day to day? Like if I wanted to use Curve, what am I actually doing?
Well, there are basically two main things you can do. First, you can be a trader.
Okay.
You've got, say, a bunch of USDT and you want USDC. You go to Curve, you make the swap, and you get a really good price, probably the best price because of that flat, stable swap curve and because the pools are usually very deep with liquidity.
Deep liquidity,
Yeah.
meaning lots of stable coins sitting there ready to be traded.
Exactly. And that liquidity comes from the second group of users, the liquidity providers, or LPs.
Right, the people putting their stable coins into the highway lanes, so to speak.
Yeah, good way to put it. LPs deposit their stablecoins, often in pairs like DAI and USDC, into a specific Curve pool.
And what do they get for doing that? Why provide the liquidity?
They earn rewards, mainly two kinds. First, they get a share of the trading fees generated from all the swaps happening in their pool. And second, they get rewarded with Curve's own token, CRV.
Okay, earning fees and getting new CRV tokens. That sounds standard enough for DeFi.
It is, but here's where Curve adds another layer, a really powerful one, actually. It's this mechanism called VCRV. That stands for Vote Escrowed CRV.
Vote escrowed. Sounds like you locked something up to get voting rights.
Precisely. To get VCRV, LPs have to take their earned CRV tokens, or CRV they bought, and lock them up for a period of time. It can be up to 4 years.
4 years is a long commitment in crypto.
It is. And that lockup gives them two major benefits, which really incentivize long-term participation. First, as the name suggests, governance power.
Okay, what can they govern?
They get to vote on something called the gauge weights. Essentially, they vote on which liquidity pools on Curve receive the most new CRV token emissions, the rewards.
Ah, so they can direct the flow of future rewards.
Exactly. And this became hugely valuable. This is what fueled the whole Curve Wars phenomenon you might have heard about.
Right. Tell me more about that. Why was controlling those rewards so competitive?
Well, imagine you're another DeFi protocol. Let's call it Protocol X. You want to attract lots of stablecoin liquidity to your project, maybe for lending or something.
Okay.
One way to do that is to offer high yields. If you can control the VCRV voting, you can direct a fire hose of CRV rewards towards a Curve pool that benefits your Protocol X. LPs will flood into that pool for the high CRV rewards, and you effectively use Curve's own token emissions to bootstrap your protocol's liquidity.
Wow, okay. So other protocols started fighting to accumulate VCRV to basically steer Curve's inflation towards themselves.
That's exactly what happened. Protocols like Convex Finance became massive players by accumulating huge amounts of CRV, locking it for VCRV, and then essentially renting out that voting power or using it strategically. It was a major power struggle over controlling liquidity flows in DeFi.
It's intricate and kind of genius from an incentive design perspective.
Okay, so that's governance power. What's the second benefit of locking CRV for VCRV? The more direct one for the LP.
It's called reward boosting. If you lock your CRV to get VCRV, you can significantly boost the amount of CRV rewards you personally earn from being an LP in a pool.
How much boost are we talking?
It can be up to 2.5 times your base rewards. So the system heavily favors those who are committed long-term, locking up their tokens and contributing significantly. It keeps liquidity sticky.
Makes sense. It ties everything together, providing liquidity, earning CRV, locking CRV for more rewards and power. Before we move off how it works, you mentioned an innovation nugget. CRV USD. Curve launched its own stablecoin.
They did in May 2023. And it wasn't just another stablecoin. The really interesting part is its liquidation mechanism. It's called LMA, Lending Liquidating AML of Algorithm.
LMA. Okay, what's different about it? Usually liquidations are pretty brutal in crypto. Right. Typically, if your collateral value drops below a certain point, bam, your entire position gets sold off instantly, often at a bad price. It can cause cascades.
Yeah, seen that happen.
LML is designed to be, well, smoother. As the price of your collateral, like ETH, starts to drop towards the liquidation point, the system gradually, automatically converts some of that collateral into the stablecoin, CRV USD.
Oh, interesting. So it sells off bits slowly.
Yeah. And if the price recovers, it can actually convert it back. It acts like a softening buffer, makes liquidations less sudden, less catastrophic, and potentially more capital efficient for the borrower. It reduces the risk of those sudden cascading failures.
It sounds like a significant step, making borrowing potentially safer.
It's definitely a clever piece of engineering aimed at improving on existing DeFi lending models.
Okay, so we have the efficient swaps, the VCRV incentives, the CRV USD innovation. Bringing it back to the user, what are the real tangible benefits? Why should someone, maybe not a massive whale, care about Curve?
Well, even if you're not trading millions, if you're moving, say, $10,000 or $50,000 in stablecoins between different forms, maybe preparing for an investment or just rebalancing, Curve is very likely going to give you the best execution, the least slippage, the lowest effective cost.
So saving money on common transactions.
Yes, it just reduces the friction. And for other protocols, it's the bedrock. So many other DeFi applications rely on Curve's deep stablecoin liquidity to function properly. It's like a utility.
And the scale really backs this up, right? The numbers are pretty staggering.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about total value locked, the TVL, consistently hovering around, what, $2.3 to $3 billion? That's a huge amount of capital sitting in these pools.
And the trading volume.
Daily trading volumes are routinely in the hundreds of millions, and they've peaked as high as, I think the figure was $3.4 billion in a single day. That's massive throughput.
It truly is the stablecoin artery of DeFi then.
Oh.
Has it expanded beyond just Ethereum?
Yes, definitely. That was crucial for usability, given Ethereum's gas fees. Curve has deployed onto multiple other chains, layer 2s like Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, making it cheaper and faster to use.
And there was that step towards more mainstream visibility too.
Right. The listing of the CRV token on Robinhood, I think that was September 2025. That kind of move exposes the project to a much wider retail audience, even if they don't use the protocol directly yet. It signals broader market acceptance.
Okay, so huge scale, core infrastructure, expanding reach. But let's pivot to the necessary counterpart, the risks. Nothing this big or complex is without potential downsides.
Absolutely not. And Curve has definitely faced some serious challenges. You have to be aware of these.
So where do we start? The tech itself.
Yeah, let's start with the technological risk. The big one was the exploit in July 2023. It was a re-entrancy attack.
Re-entrancy. That sounds familiar, like the DAO hack.
Similar type of vulnerability, yeah. It allowed attackers to drain funds from several pools. The estimates vary, but the losses were significant, somewhere between $61 million and maybe $73.5 million.
Ouch. That's a massive hit. What went wrong? Was it the stable swap math?
No, interestingly, it wasn't the core Curve logic itself. The vulnerability was actually traced back to a specific bug in certain versions of the Viper programming language compiler, which some of the Curve pools were using.
So a problem in the underlying tool used to build the smart contracts.
Exactly. It highlights just how complex these systems are. Even if Curve's own code is audited and secure, a bug in a compiler, something deeper in the stack, can still lead to catastrophic failure. It really shook confidence.
Yeah, that's a tough lesson. Okay, tech risk is clear. What about the governance? You mentioned the curve wars and convex gaining a lot of power.
Right, that's the governance risk. And it's a bit ironic for a decentralized protocol. The CRV system, designed to incentivize participation, led to this concentration of power.
So convex finance controls over 50% of the VCRV votes now.
That's been the situation, yes. While many individual users might lock their CRV through Convex, the ultimate voting decisions become highly concentrated. It means control over that crucial reward distribution, the gauge weights, isn't widely distributed. It's centralized among a few large players.
Which sort of undermines the decentralized part of DeFi, doesn't it?
It certainly raises questions. It's a major trade-off between incentive alignment and true decentralization of control, a critical point of debate.
Okay, and there's one more major risk factor, a very human one, the founder.
Ah, yes. Key person risk. This became starkly clear with Mikhail Egorov in 2023. He had taken out significant personal loans using huge amounts of CRV tokens as collateral.
Oh.
Yeah. When the price of CRV dipped sharply, his positions were suddenly at risk of massive liquidation. We're talking about potentially hundreds of millions of dollars worth of CRV hitting the open market all at once.
That could crash the price entirely.
It could have been catastrophic, not just for CRV holders, but potentially destabilizing for the entire Curve protocol and other protocols relying on CRV's value. There was a real market panic around it.
Wow. So the personal financial situation of one person created systemic risk for a multi-billion-dollar protocol.
Precisely. It highlights how, even in DeFi, individuals can still represent significant central points of failure or risk. It was a major wake-up call.
Definitely. Tech risk, governance centralization, key person risk, important factors to weigh. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. If you had to summarize Curve Finance in just a sentence or two, what's the essence?
I'd say Curve Finance is DeFi's highly specialized engine for doing stablecoin swaps super efficiently, powered by its unique stable swap math and that really sticky VCRV model that pulls in liquidity and, well, concentrates influence.
That captures it well.
You know, this is a great point to quickly pause and remind our listeners of something.
That's right. If you're enjoying how we break down these complex projects into simple pieces and want more reviews just like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel, CryptoBox. We do all the complex research, so you don't have to.
Yeah, definitely subscribe. Getting back to Curve, though, while that summary is accurate for today, the story isn't really finished. They're not just sitting still on stablecoins.
No, the ambition seems to be growing. Looking at their roadmap, they're experimenting with some pretty advanced stuff now. Things like Forex pools. For trading actual fiat currency pairs like US dollar versus euro.
Exactly. Moving beyond crypto dollars to world currencies, and also this yield basis protocol they're developing, which sounds like it's aimed at creating more stable long-term profits for people holding VCRV.
So they're trying to evolve from just being an exchange into something more like a foundational layer for global currency settlement and yield generation.
That seems to be the trajectory. Much broader financial primitives.
Which naturally raises the stakes even higher. So maybe that leads us to our final thought for you, the listener, to ponder.
Go for it.
If Curve does successfully build out these sophisticated tools for things like global Forex and complex yield strategies, what kind of new regulatory headaches is it going to face, especially dealing directly with sovereign fiat currencies? And, maybe more importantly, can it maintain security and avoid more major exploits while expanding into these incredibly complex global markets?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Definitely something to keep an eye on as DeFi continues to mature.
It really is. Well, thank you for walking us through that, and thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage you to keep exploring Curve and its place in the wider financial world. Until next time.